Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. When a young witch or wizard has no understanding of magic, they rely entirely on the way that it's taught to them. They copy sounds, they mimic gestures, and they perform rituals they barely understand. At Hogwarts, students mostly imitate what their professors demonstrate, and long before that, in magical homes, young witches and wizards often pick up bits of magic just by watching their parents. And by doing these things, they learn the shape of magic, but not the rules beneath it. They don't know why a wand must move a certain way, or why emotion matters just as much as language. They often don't know what happens when intent wavers, or when a spell is cast without conviction. They're given technique, not theory. They're taught how to do magic, but it's rarely explained why it works. But here's the thing about magic. It's wildly unpredictable. It isn't patient with mistakes, and it certainly doesn't forgive misunderstandings. Which means that sometimes when the spell isn't quite right, it doesn't just not work, it actively pushes back. And when magic pushes back, there are consequences. Of course, not every spell fits this criteria. Some spells will just fizzle out or do nothing at all. But the focus of today's video will be on the spells that do push back, sometimes with dire, even horrific consequences. Let's dive into it. Number 1. Patronus. Now, I expect many of you might be thinking, the Patronus charm? Isn't that like the most innocuous, harmless spell of them all? And for the most part, you'd be right. But in truth, there is a dark side to the Patronus charm that is often overlooked. A Patronus charm is produced when a witch or wizard casts the spell Expecto Patronum. There are two types of Patronus charms, corporeal and incorporeal, and the type that the witch or wizard casts will depend on their experience, preference. The more basic form of the spell is the incorporeal Patronus, which assumes no animal form and simply resembles a burst of white vapor or smoke. And the more advanced form of the spell is the conjuring of a corporeal Patronus. Notably, the corporeal Patronus assumes the form of the witch or wizard's spirit animal, and varies extensively from witch to witch or wizard to wizard. It's also worth mentioning that there's no way to know what your Patronus is until you cast it. Casting a Patronus, specifically a corporeal Patronus, is said to be an impressive feat of magic. But interestingly, the issue here is not so much with the incantation or wand movement of the caster, but rather their heart. The best example of what happens when a Patronus goes wrong comes from the story of Ilias and Rexidian. There once was a wizard named Ilias, who lived in a quiet mountain village overshadowed by a dark presence. High above them stood the fortress of Rexidian, a black castle patrolled by dementors. The villagers rarely saw the dark wizard himself, but his influence was always there, looming over the forest like a storm that never fully passed. When Ilias turned 17, he and his peers were taught the Patronus charm. Though shy and tongue-tied, he managed to conjure one, a tiny mouse. It was mocked as useless, and the elders advised him never to use it. But not long after, everything changed. Rexidian demanded a young villager named Eliana be given to him as a bride. Her family refused, and he retaliated. Dementors flooded the village, and the people fought back with their Patronuses. At first, wolves, boars, and bears of silver light held them off, but the swarm was too great. Their magic weakened, and the line faltered. Despite being ridiculed, Ilias ended up casting his Patronus, and the tiny mouse shone so brightly that the dementors recoiled. It darted through the chaos and turned the tide. Furious, Rexidian entered the battle himself. Believing he could simply overpower Ilias, he attempted the same spell, treating it like a weapon instead of a reflection. And this is where everything fell apart. It's commonly believed that only the pure of heart can produce a Patronus. But in truth, a Patronus requires one thing above all: a memory so happy it can overpower fear. When Rexidian tried, the world witnessed for the first time what happens when a powerful but unworthy wizard attempts to summon one. Maggots burst from Rexidian's wand and devoured him alive. Not a corrupted animal, not a twisted shade. A spell that punished him. Instead of summoning a protective spirit, his magic revealed what he actually carried inside him: decay, malice, rot. Where Ilias met his guardian, Rexidian met his own destruction. And from that day forward, the truth became undeniable. Some witches and wizards will never cast a Patronus, not because they lack talent, but because they lack something their magic cannot fake. 2. Animagus. Most animagi we see in the wizarding world look perfectly in control of their transformations, slipping between forms with ease. Animagi are, of course, witches and wizards capable of turning into a specific animal at will, without the need for a spell, incantation, or potion once the transformation is mastered. Their animal form is fixed. It reflects something essential about their nature, and it never changes over the course of their life. But the truth is, as easy as they make it look after the fact, becoming an animagus is one of the riskiest magical processes in existence. It's not a simple spell you can learn in school, or something you master through practice alone. There's no classroom for it, no official curriculum, no teacher willing to demonstrate it. And there's a very good reason for that. An animagus transformation requires perfect alignment between a witch or wizard's body, wand work, potion crafting, magical timing, and emotional self-control. Unlike conjurations or charms, this isn't about producing magic outside of you. It's about reshaping your actual identity. According to the official instructions documented on Pottermore, here's what needs to happen. You must master advanced transfiguration and potions, keep a mandrake leaf in your mouth for a full lunar month, then seal it with your hair and saliva in a crystal phial. You brew a complex potion with dew untouched by sunlight in a death's head hawk moth chrysalis, recite Amato, Animo, Animato, Animagus at sunrise and sunset while waiting to feel a second heartbeat, and to leave the potion to mature until lightning strikes. After drinking it, you endure a painful transformation, confront your animal form without fear, and practice until the shift no longer requires a wand. And if just one step of this incredibly intricate process is mishandled, one measurement off, one moment of hesitation, or one emotional lapse, you don't just fail, you change, permanently. A failed animagus transformation can leave a witch or wizard trapped between forms permanently, half human, half beast, with no way back. And this isn't a hypothetical warning or some old superstition. The Ministry of Magic explicitly notes that botched transformations result in irreversible disfigurement, and that St. Mungos can do little, if anything, to help those who attempt the process incorrectly. You don't simply take a potion or try again later. You're done. Your form is sealed. 3. Apparition. Teleportation, also known as apparition in Harry Potter, is a magical means of transportation where the caster is able to instantly travel from one location to another. Many witches and wizards simply prefer conventional means of transport like brooms, flue powder, and portkeys. But for those special few that have honed this ability and enjoy doing it, apparition is certainly the way to go. From a utilitarian standpoint, it doesn't get much better than being able to instantly transport to your desired location with the snap of your fingers. However, it's a fairly advanced skill, which not all witches and wizards are able to perform. And for those that attempt it but don't quite get it right, there can be dire consequences. Splinching is the official term for what happens when part of a witch or wizard is left behind during the process. And we're not talking about losing your coat or dropping a wand. Splinching can involve chunks of flesh, hair, limbs, or other body parts being separated from you mid-travel. Notably, Ron Weasley gets splinched in the Deathly Hallows. Splinching, or the separation of random body parts, occurs when the mind is insufficiently determined. You must concentrate continually upon your destination, and move without haste but with deliberation. The reason this happens is simple. Apparition relies on 3 exact principles: destination, determination, and deliberation. A witch or wizard needs to know exactly where they're going, have the magical willpower to get there, and maintain perfect focus while doing it. If even one of those elements falters, the magic doesn't transport you incorrectly. It transports part of you correctly, and leaves the rest behind. A brief lapse, a flicker of doubt, or a misjudged destination isn't just embarrassing. It's a risk that might cost you a piece of yourself. Literally. Fiendfyre. Fiendfyre is one of the most dangerous forms of magic in the wizarding world, not because it's difficult to cast, but because of what happens after the spell is created. Unlike normal conjured fire, fiendfyre is a cursed blaze that grows on its own and forms living shapes. Serpents, birds, roaring lions, even chimera-like beasts, fueled by magic instead of fire. The real challenge isn't producing the fire. it's controlling it. Fiendfyre requires constant, precise magical command. If the caster fails to maintain control, even briefly, the flames stop responding to them and spread without restriction. And at that point, the caster has no reliable way of putting it out. We see this clearly in Deathly Hallows, when Vincent Crabbe conjures Fiendfyre inside the Room of Requirement. He succeeds in producing the curse, but because of his inexperience, can't manage it. The fire then rapidly expands, becoming too powerful to command, and ultimately kills him, while continuing to destroy everything in the room, including a Horcrux. Unlike most spells that simply fail when performed incorrectly, Fiendfyre carries a different risk. Even a correctly cast spell can become a threat if the caster lacks the skill to control it afterward. It isn't just a matter of magical talent, but of maintaining sustained mastery over a force that doesn't stop on its own. Legilimency. Legilimency is essentially the art of magically navigating through people's minds. It's often misunderstood as simple mind reading, but it goes far beyond that. It isn't a passive ability or a spell that shows you someone's thoughts on command. Legilimency involves navigating another person's mind, their memories, emotions, and hidden associations. It's a targeted intrusion that requires precision, awareness, and focus, and without those, the caster doesn't just fail, they risk exposing themselves. Unlike most spells, legilimency is not one-directional. The moment a witch or wizard attempts to look into someone else's mind, they also open a channel that can be turned back against them. This is why Snape emphasizes that a caster who lacks mental defenses, specifically occlumency, can accidentally reveal their own thoughts while trying to invade someone else's. We see this when Snape attempts to teach Harry occlumency in Order of the Phoenix. Harry, untrained and overwhelmed, suddenly slips into Snape's memories instead of blocking him, and the lesson demonstrates that a failed attempt at legilimency does not simply produce no result. It can reverse the intended direction, giving the target access to the caster's private experiences. And while the risk isn't physical harm, it may be something far more serious to a witch or wizard. A failed attempt at legilimency can reveal your own thoughts, memories, and vulnerabilities to the very person you were trying to spy on. In other words, legilimency isn't just about breaking into someone else's mind. It requires protecting your own. Without the proper skill, the spell doesn't simply fail. It opens the wrong door. And that's it for today's video. Which video would you like next? Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, remember, it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live.